Duelmasters and Kaijudo fans. It's Brandon, me, Evan, and Tom. And we took it upon ourselves. We had a project in mind, still looming in our minds, working on it. But we wanted to put together a cool format of Duelmasters / Kaijudo / TCG / OCG that we thought would have been, in our minds, ideal or perfect. So we went out. We got Proxy cards. We also included some Kaijudo cards in the other decks, but this is going to be a test run. This is a deck profile for our Death Phoenix deck and our Cruel Naga deck. So this is heavily inspired by Duelmasters Plays. We will be using all Duelmasters Plays erratas for these cards, and a lot of these cards do not exist in a physical form. So here's a deck tech. Starting off is Pappy Rappy. This is a Duelmasters Plays exclusive. When you put him in the battle zone, you can put Death Phoenix on the top since he is a Phoenix. Very simple card. He's also evolution bait. Another OG card exclusive to DMP, Necro Dragon Megira. He's a Bloody Skeeto, but he's 3, except he's a dragon and he can evolve. And he also gets his cost reduced by Cocolupia. This is Duelmasters Plays Lupia. I thought that was really cool. Bought a couple of these online. Cocolupia lowers the cost of all your dragons by 2. So this guy would cost 2. They can't cost less than 2, but it also will lower the cost of other dragons that we'll get to. Ghost Bite. The card that was... Yeah. Was it Phantom Bite or Ghost Bite? I don't know. In Kaijudo, it was Ghost Bite, but it was 4 mana -3. But in Kaijudo, they also had another 3 mana card that did it, the same thing. This one minuses 2,000 power, so it's a much better Phantom Dragon Flame, if you remember that. Duelmasters Plays exclusive again. So Bolshak Buddy, when he comes in, you can search out a bird. So this whole suite, Bolshak Buddy and Zach Zevel, they work fantastic with Lupia because on turn 3, if you go Lupia, turn 4, if you go Bolshak, you can actually search out Zach Zevel, who's also a Firebird, and play them both on the same turn. That's a very good swing. And the key thing that we'll get into is you want to actually discard your Death Phoenix with Zach Zevel. We'll get into that in a little bit. So Buddy is great. Gives you that hand advantage that you desperately need in a Fire Darkness deck. Zach Zevel, probably the most powerful card in here. He fulfills the requirements for Death Phoenix. You can discard Death Phoenix when he's in your hand. Now, you're saying, why would I discard Death Phoenix? He's the main card in the deck. Because Death Phoenix has an effect. If you have a Firebird and a Dragon in the battle zone, and look, Zach Zevel fulfills those requirements, he comes back to your hand for free. So Zach Zevel is essential to making this deck work. Death Phoenix. So we're playing the Duelmasters Plays version. Goes on a Firebird and a Dragon. Whenever he burns your opponent's shields, they go straight to the grave. They do not go to their hand. When he leaves the battle zone, your opponent discards their entire hand. And when you have a dragon and a bird in the battle zone, he gets revived from the grave to your hand at the start of your turn. Very powerful. That's why we built the deck around them. Still balanced, though. Zach Zevel. This is a Duelmasters Plays exclusive. However,
Zovio.
Yeah, Zovio, right. So Zovio, this is actually a real card that was made as part of a promo kit. So it actually has that uncommon rarity that's like Duelmasters Plays has. So what he does is he has blocker. He can attack players. When he enters the battle zone, you mill 1, and then when he swings at your opponent's shields, he dies after the battle.
He also rests a dragon if it's in the grave.
Yeah, and he also can take back a dragon if you have one in the grave. So he's very, very strong. Terrapit, just alternate art shiny, Japanese. Galzark. So this guy, he's pretty nutty. We're still playing around with him. He might be a little too good, but what he does is he has a lot of effects. If you have another Fire Dragon in the battle zone, he gets Power Attacker 6,000 and he gets upgraded from a double to a triple breaker. When he or another Darkness Dragon dies, he kills your opponent's weakest creature in the battle zone. So he's very, very powerful, and he gets haste if you have any other dragon in the battle zone. He's a Zombie Dragon and Armor Dragon, has his cost reduced with Lupia, works brilliantly with Zolvio. You can run him in, he'll die, trigger Galzark's effect, and Megira too. He'll die after a battle. So there's a lot of synergy in here. And he evolves. And last but not least, 2 Health Scrapper. Kill a total of 5,000 or less creatures your opponent controls. Standard anti-rush trigger, since this deck could be a little soft to rush. A little slow. And moving on to our second Duelmasters Plays deck is Cruel Naga. So Evan, we're going to let you handle this one, starting with the 1-drops.
Alright, so Tyro Worm,
Normally, we're just going to go by what I use this deck actually a lot in DMP, and I was a fan favorite. It was a fan favorite of mine for sure. Tyrant Worm, I would like to do is typically just a one-of, because if you read his effect, when another creature is played after him, this card dies, so it can't even really be used in a rush deck. That's why it's not something that's played often. But I like that if you need to, crap out Naga and you don't have a worm on board, if you have 6 mana and another water guy, you can make that happen with this. So 1, 2 of max, and that's what we're doing here. Next,
Just a bait.
Yeah, just a bait. That's its sole purpose. Other than that, you're charging it. You're throwing it in mana or holding it. Donna's great because Donna has good synergy if you come down, Brandon, to Necro Worm here. So you're hoping when you summon Donna, you're playing regardless, even if they're not using something like Rush. Sorry. So even if they're not using something like Rush, you're using Donna in the hopes of milling something, preferably a creature, and then on turn 4, you can drop down this guy, and then you can revive the creature that was milled. I love this whole worm package just from DMP in general. I think this is what gave Naga a lot of life, aside from Naga's, buff to Naga
They
itself.
did the worms right here.
Yeah, they did these 3 worms right. There's also a new worm in DMP. We don't have it, but which makes Naga even more playable, I believe. I believe Naga can still be part of this meta
I know
in
you're
DMP.
talking about that 4-drop that looks like a cartoon creature. He looks like a Toon World guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cartoon creature looking one that actually makes you want to play more than 2 sips.
Yep.
So we're doing Ghost Touch. I'm assuming
Alternate art Ghost
I'm
Touch.
assuming we're doing They Choose though, right?
Yeah, we're gonna
So
play
this-
with the
this is not-
Plays version.
This is not, something I necessarily picked for the deck, but just we needed a filler and we had some empty slots, so we got Ghost Touch in there.
Spectre Claw for those Kaijudo fans.
Yeah,
Same card.
yeah.
Same exact card.
And then we have I love Hardworm personally, and he's actually allowed even in new division in DMP because he came in a deck. I love him. People sleep on this card. They use Amaru a lot, who is better, but he's not a worm. And then, you have to commit to Dark. So Hardworm, a card that's been forgotten about, but I love it personally. Brandon already spoke about this card, just as a cheeky little 2-of. Then of course we have Aquan. Aquan is very essential for not only Naga, but Starnoid decks. Brings a lot of life to them. Yeah. Very, very important. You need it.
Duelmasters Plays version, draw 3. Perfect.
Yep, and we're
it's
using
Marino
it.
Answer, but less by 1. So
correct. That's exactly how
I think that's the perfect balance. Yeah.
Next we have Chaos Worm, and sorry about the glare. I love Chaos Worm. I only use him as a 1-of in DMP, and he can only be used in all division, but he catches the opponent by surprise. It's something they don't even think about when they're playing against Naga, which is cool. And it's a Terrapin on wheels. I like him. Very fair card. He's old, but he's still pretty useful in my opinion. So we have Poina, of course, DMP version as well. Very good card. I don't have to say much.
Yeah.
You can Poina your opponent to death and win a game.
Absolutely. That card was just random out of 4 of in every deck that
Yeah,
played it.
very, very important card. People got greedy with it, but I can understand. It was a very strong card. And then we have Naga. Naga, what?
Ignore the welfare
Yeah.
5 because we actually got the Japanese version that had 6, so 5 is for our friends and us. Just
Yeah, this is the real
as a
card,
reminder.
not a proxy, so we just have that in there to make it a little easier to play with. Just ignore that.
Yeah.
But hide and seek, I don't have to say much about Naga. Also, just like all the other vortexes, if it leaves the battle zone, you get its effect too. This card is very tough for decks that don't necessarily run pit or hard removal to deal with, like especially against other aggro decks, if you're able to get it out. Hopefully you can use these early turn worms, because this guy, the fact that he can minus 1000, he can deal with something like a Coco Lupia. I love this guy also. You're hoping to use this package to deal with early aggression, and Naga is pretty much a finisher against aggro decks. And then I just have Terrapin, that's it for the deck.
Alternate art. All right.
Alternate art, yep.
All right, and then we're going to get to the duel. See you soon, guys.